Hey Rosebuds, welcome to the Rose Garden. I'm your host, Nyeri Rose. All right, y'all. Hey Rosebuds. We are back with another episode, and today's episode is conversations about entrepreneurship. Now, the reason why this conversation is important to me is because I am navigating the space of entrepreneurship and what it means to be a small business owner, what it means to be a person of color with a small business, what it means to be a woman with a small business, and what it means to actually maintain and manage a business, because this is a new journey. Now, I have a podcast, and what I noticed about having a podcast is that the money is not coming in. It's not what you think. Now, there are great entrepreneurs out there and people who have platforms, podcast platforms, and they're doing okay. I would say I really admire podcasts, creators or content creators like the Joe Budden podcast, Anton Davis. I don't know if he has his own or he calls his business a podcast, but I do like what he's doing on YouTube. The Crimson Cure is another one. I also like Megan Ashley, and I just seen that B Simone dropped her own podcast called Let's Try This Again. So there are some really influential people out there that are using the microphone to, start their voice. But what I'm noticing in this business is that a lot of the money that you put into your business is really what you see. And I don't know if that's across the board for all businesses, is that you are spending so much of your own money before you actually see the investment or the return of what you have invested. Now, I've been going to a lot of business mixers and meeting some influential people who really started from the bottom and now they're here. And in that experience, it just seems like everyone has ideas. And in order to be a good entrepreneur or successful entrepreneur, you must not limit yourself. You must not place boundary. Well, you should have boundaries in your business, but you shouldn't place restraints, I should say, on the possibility of what you're going to do. And you have to also accept the fact that with any type of business, there's trials and tribulations, there's trial and error, there's things that are going to work, and then there's things that aren't going to work, especially when you're putting yourself out there. Now, something that I learned about recently is something called imposter syndrome. And what that is basically a syndrome where you feel like you are not qualified to do what you're doing, or you feel like in your entrepreneurial journey, are you being authentic as possible? Is your business worth conversion? Meaning bringing in sales, having an audience, and basically lucrative enough to sustain your lifestyle. Now, I know that I'm on a spiritual journey and a healing journey. And when I heard about imposter syndrome, I was like, yeah, that's me all the way. Because when you get on platforms, social media platforms, everyone has pretty much the same ideas, or everyone has pretty much this, not the same or similar, but people have similar journeys and business ideas, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in music, but you hear about, oh, he copied me or she copied me. And you have to find the space to create what you have to create, even if 10 other people are doing the same thing, and you have to own your own originality. So this is just for example, if I start a fashion line or clothing line with crocheted items or materials, because I see these girls and they're making some bomb outfits. Like, people are so gifted with their hands and have trades and skills that are immeasurable. So if I know that I like to crochet and I want to crochet, but there's 20 other people crocheting, what am I going to do to stand apart from those people? And so that's where entrepreneurship or starting a business, that's where you might see failure. But in failing and in being let down, there's always a win, there's always a lesson. So at least in my journey, I'm learning to hold on to those lessons and capture them and learn from them and work around the failures or navigate, I invested into this, but it didn't work out. So instead of beating myself over or beating myself up over what did not work out, how can I move forward so that eventually when I do flourish as a business, I'll have all the tools within me to know that I have to keep going. I have to persevere. Because the chances of businesses reaching success, especially at a 5 year or 10 year success rate, is so small. The chances are so small. There's a high percentage of people who do not make it in their business, especially after the first year. Now, for the Rose Garden, I believe I am on my fourth year, third or fourth year, of just having it, and it was just an idea, but I knew that it was valuable. And when I first started the Rose Garden, I I'm still learning. I didn't know necessarily what to do or how to react to people hearing my voice, especially when we talk about chakras and speaking. When you've been through traumatic experiences in life, how crazy is it of an idea, especially for me to say, I have trouble using my voice, so I'm going to start my business in the very thing that I want to promote, which is my voice and speaking. So that was like really huge. And I was in a dark space at the time that I started my podcast. But I said, it's already defeating life. Life is already beating me up. Like it can't, and I shouldn't say it can't because it can, but it's the question of why not? Why not? If everybody else is operating in a space where they're taking a chance on themselves in their business, why can't I do it? So that's how the Rose Garden came about, just as a business idea. Now, being able to market that business and market your own business, social media is a big help. Social media is a big help to being able to put yourself out there, put yourself forward, but also there are pros and cons to every platform that you use when you're doing business. Now, because I have a podcast, I really benefit from being able to record and put my videos on YouTube. This is my first year actually talking to other speakers and guests, which I'm appreciative of. But before I could even get to that space, a lot of my podcasts and audio recordings were just camera off and just me talking. And that's called practice. With any type of business, you have to practice. I'm sure there are so many business minded people who would agree that before or as they were cultivating their business space, practice not even makes perfect, but practice prepares you and properly prepares you for preparation. So me just recording and saying, I'm going to show up for myself by at least having the mic. And I remember I bought my first mic. I bought it off Amazon for the low because I didn't know if I believed in myself and I believed in what I was doing. But the thing about believing, there's doubt when you believe. And so I will say that it started as a doubt. I will say that I doubted myself and my capabilities and whether I could show up and just speak to people about what I felt was true and genuine to my life and my experiences. But that practice helped me see my power. It helped me see my potential. That practice helped me put one foot in front of the other and keep going and keep making mistakes and keep saying, well, you know what, this might not have necessarily worked out, but I'm going to try again. And the next time that I try again, I want to invest. I want to take it a step further. So what started as the maybe cheap Amazon mic became a Blue Yeti mic. And I said, okay, I need to spend more money on what I'm doing. And I think when I started framing my practice as an investment, even though it was coming out of my pocket, even though it was making me feel like, I don't I don't have the audience that I want. I don't have the 100,000 views. I don't have the support system that I'm looking for, or the people that are really validating what I'm doing. And granted, there are individuals that were and are supportive of what I'm doing, even to this day, but not seeing it on a global scale, but coming on a platform where that's all you see. All you see is people with 10,000 likes, or all you see is people with 100,000 views or 100,000 followers, and you see the blue check marks. It it makes you feel small, or it can make you feel small. And I feel like that's when you fall into the trap of wanting to quit and wanting to fail and not push through. It's overwhelming because in business, you have a never ending to do list. You have all these expectations on how is this going to be the best thing executed ever? Like, how am I going to get this? Especially if you are in a place of business and you're leasing a space, or you bought a space to cultivate what you want to do in that. It's hard because you want everything to go according to plan. But a true business owner, a true entrepreneur, is going to navigate those spaces and know how to be flexible and know how to just accept the fact that today was a loss. But how do I find the win in what I've lost? Maybe I invested $1,000 in a product, or I invested $1,000 in another person, and they let me down, or that product did not work out, or it did not align. That is still a lesson. And that is still you delegating what's working for you and what's not working for you without quitting. Something that recently came up for me, because I have a podcast and I'm very intentional about the things that I say. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but I made it a expectation that when I show up on my platform, no matter who's there, I would limit my profanity. I would limit the curse words, and I want it to be as clear and concise. Now, prior I talked about code switching, and code switching is unnatural, because you do have to balance who's in the room, other cultures, other clientele, and you have to change yourself. But I believe that there's opportunity in uncomfortability. And so sometimes I grapple with the fact, are you being authentic, like, because you're not saying a cuss word? Not necessarily, because I feel like because I'm not cursing or I'm not using curse words as fillers, I'm expanding my mind, I'm expanding my knowledge. It allows me to want to read more. It allows me to want to research more, so that I don't jump to conclusions, or I don't feel easily triggered and then I say something that I don't mean. And I feel like in business, you should be able to silence yourself or know how to stay quiet and just listen. I was recently watching Club Shay Shay, and I really enjoy that podcast. That's another podcaster that I admire. No matter how people feel about him as a person, I enjoy the guests that he has on that platform. And recently, he had a guest named Ray J. And Ray J is an artist, an actor, entrepreneur for sure. And something that I admired about what Ray J said being on Club Shay Shay is that he said that he had to learn that when things were going good, and when he had just got a win or an opportunity or something that was like really high for him, he had to sit in that moment. And he said that is the time when you win, is when you listen, when you sit back, when you humble yourself, when you take a breather and say, okay, I could be out in the club, I could be turned up, I could be popping bottles, but I'm going to listen to the people around me, and double down on what I need to do to continue to grow. And I feel as though we are living in a very competitive society. Um, and there's nothing wrong with competition, but I was speaking with someone, and this woman said beautifully that if we're going to be competitive with each other, we should be competing in love. We should be competing by pouring into each other's cups. And I feel like from what I see and observe, because again, you create your own reality, but sometimes in those realities, you see the challenges, you see the obstacles, you see how other people are moving. And when you're faced with competition, that can also make or break you. Like I said, if there's 10 other people doing the same thing that I'm doing, but someone else has way more followers, it's easy to feel jealousy, envy, and you belittle yourself. You make yourself smaller by thinking, well, that person might be better than me, or that person can make more sales than I can. But that's not healthy competition, and that's not love. In order to move forward in the space of love, you have to understand that they have their formula, and whatever they're doing with their formula is working for them. But what you have to do to find your own formula is be authentic. I recently saw something that said that authenticity is more powerful than love. And so if I choose to be authentic to myself, then no one else can shape me or break me or make me feel like I'm losing, even if I am. Even if I am taking an L, no one else should be able to make me feel like I'm losing or like I am a loser, because that's not what having a business is about. That's not what entrepreneurship is about. Just to give you a statistic, it says that 82% of business failures are due to poor cash management. And I agree with that, because we are a country built on consumerism and spending your dollar. And if you believe in something, or if you know something, to to basically say I need this product, or I have to use this product, or I have to have it, whether you've seen it on the TV, whether you've seen it on Temu, whether you've seen it on TikTok Shop, if you have that in you to say this is what I want to spend my dollar on, and you meet that conversion for that other person, then boom, you're spending all your money. But how are you investing it? You're giving your dollar away, but is that product necessarily for you? And if I have a business, or if you have a business, and you don't know how to properly manage your money because you're spending it on other people's businesses, on other people's ideas, then you're setting yourself up for failure every single time. And I realized that. And it wasn't, at first, it did affect me heavily, but it wasn't with ill intention. I just had this wake up call, and I'm like, man, not only am I investing in my business, I'm putting so much money, thought, power, process into showing up for other people's businesses, and spreading love for other people's businesses, that I'm failing, I'm drowning right now. Like, this is heavy on my heart. This is a lot. And you do want to see reciprocation. You do want to see people, you know, like, post, subscribe, share, all the things that have to do with what you have going on. But if you feel like it's overwhelming to do that for other people, then you do have to take a step back. Now, what you'll see is, going back to competition, if you start taking a step back and saying, I'm not managing my money well, and I'm investing it in the wrong people, places, and things, and then that energy in return says, you're not supporting me, or I don't appreciate the fact that you're not in alignment with what I have going on, then that is when you start figuring out who your business partners are. Because I learned that when it comes to work-life balance, that's not a real thing. If you have an ongoing to-do list and an ongoing list of expectations as an entrepreneur, if you have that list and you see that you're overworking yourself and overextending yourself, then you have to also understand that you might not have time for your family. You might not have time for your children. You might not have time to go out and do what you need to do in your 9 to 5, and it becomes overwhelming. And that's the importance of self-care. And that's the importance of having a tribe, or building your tribe, in a safe space and cultivating what you need to in order to take responsibility because everything falls on you. It's never easy. It's never something that is going to really alleviate itself because as your dollar grows or as you do start to see the money come in, then that's a different responsibility. That's more responsibility. So just being able to like check in with yourself and reflect in all the lessons that you go through as you're either creating or starting a business, um, it's it's a lot, but it's manageable. And you have to always give yourself grace. You have to always be willing to give yourself grace. You have to always believe that, and I'm using believe, but I know that's doubtful. You have to always know, I don't want to say believe. You have to always know that there is an opportunity in every single thing. And even when you lose an opportunity, that is again for your protection. Rejection is protection. So just learn from it. I am very hard on myself. I'm very critical. So time is important to me, but I also know how to let go of time and just be in the present. But simple things as being early is on time and being on time is late. That is something that I'm working towards because recently I went to an event and I arrived at that event 2 hours late. And I thought to myself, if I would have arrived early, who knows who I could have interacted with, who I could have met. And even though I'm arriving right now in my own time, I still interacted with people. I still found opportunities, but you never know what or who you're missing out on by not showing up on time. So that's another thing in entrepreneurship is you have a flexible schedule and you have the mindfulness to outsource and work with who you want to work with and decide who you want to do business with and who you don't want to do business with. But in that, you have to be so mindful that, okay, I know opportunity is everything. You have to treat every space that you're in like it's a business meeting. Right now, I'm in a cafe. I'm in a cafe because I wanted to be outside. I love the ambiance of the cafe, but I know that I still have to show up and do business wherever that is. So I know that this is what entrepreneurship is about. Now, but ask me 3 years ago, did I know these things? No, absolutely not. I'm learning to get through my traumas by talking to people. At some point, you go through so much and you believe that you're an imposter and you start thinking that you're not able or capable to run a business or you're not able to persuade 20 people to buy your product. When you have that headspace, you suffer, your relationship suffer, and you become stagnant. And so I did everything that I could to say, you know what, and I'm still doing everything I can to say, I do not want to be stagnant. I want to see a problem, address the situation, and take action. And so, in that action, I'm learning more and more to stop feeling unworthy when things don't work out. Because why am I punishing myself? If I'm going to say that rejection is protection, why would I continue to punish myself or make myself feel bad because something did not work out or align? Because maybe that's for my best interest. So convenience is not an option. Convenience is not an option for me. Just because if it's convenient, then it's comfortable, and that might not be the best place to stay in. If you are comfortable in your business, then chances are your business might not last long. Because part of being an entrepreneur and a business person is being creative. I just learned this today. There are 5 C's in entrepreneurship. Those 5 C's are clarity, cash flow, culture, customer satisfaction, and communication. Now, all of these C's are important. Clarity, starting with that one, I don't even have to do research to understand that if your intentions are not set and your goals are not clear, what are you doing? Your business is going to be chaotic and it will reflect. And then you'll have, if you have an audience, they'll look at you as though, what am I buying? Or what is going on here? Last week it was fashion. This week you're into cars. I'm just thinking out loud, but what are you going? What's the intention? If there's no clarity, which is not necessarily having a plan, because you can have a plan and watch your plan fall through. But if you have clarity and you at least have a vision towards success, or you have a smart goal towards your success, and you see that, no matter what pathway I take, this is what I essentially want my business to look like, that's okay. Cash flow. Cash rules everything around me. Now, that has its pros and cons, of course, because everybody wants money, of course, everybody wants wealth and success. But for me, I'm in a space of abundance, and abundance is not just money. Okay. Abundance right now for me is support. And I was looking for other people to help support me, but right now I'm abundantly supportive of myself. And I'm abundantly content with the fact that money may come in, and I'm grateful for that. But I've been watching money go out. I've been watching myself invest and put money in other places and spaces. And I positively affirm that that is okay. And that's how I will essentially attract the cash flow that I'm looking for, by having clarity and by being content with everything not being a win or a success. So, cash flow is something that I'm still working on and learning. But I just met someone recently who said it took him 8 years, 8 years of hard work, dedication, being told no, doors shut in his face, people leaving him, family and friends, totally not aligning with his business and his purpose. It took him 8 years of that to finally see the cash flow and the fruits of his labor. Now, if that's not a testimony, I'm like, you know what? Do I have 8 years in me? But I'd rather commit myself to those 8 years or those 10 years or those 20 years and see that I still have a business than quit after the first year. Because that's literally that's the statistic, is that after the first year, 30% of businesses don't make it. It doesn't go without notice. You tried, you did it, you attempted, you made an attempt. But what happened to where you could not fall through? Was it a family member getting in your head? Did you lose money and you felt like there was no coming back? Is it the job that you're in? Did you start letting your 9 to 5 weigh, or your 6 to 6 weigh heavily on your mind, to where you felt like I can't balance the two? Because this whole entire year, I set an intention that I would be able to balance the two. I would be able to balance my job and my business. And I've been seeing that it's working for me. And sometimes I'm not consistent with the goals that I set in showing up, but I'm still showing up. I'm still posting the stories. I'm still recording the content, but it's me staying authentic. I will admit that I get overloaded with information when I go on social media, because I am reposting other people's content. And so what happens is I shy away from just, let me put the camera up and let me just start recording what's on my mind. And then this is where code switching becomes problematic, because I just had a thought and I want to record it, but now that the camera's rolling, I don't want to say what I just said in my brain. I don't think that people would receive it. I don't want to speak my true thoughts in my mind. What I just said, it had a cuss word in it. Am I able to actually put that on my platform? And so I am working on getting out of that headspace so that I am not in that stagnant, being stagnant and stifling myself. So that's one of the things. Now, culture. I talk about this all the time, different cultures and having cultural awareness and being perceived by different races and demographics. But at the end of the day, if you want the cash flow, you're going to have to be able to reach all cultures, not just one, because then you're stifling your community and you're stifling your opportunities by just saying, I want to target one audience. I want to be multifaceted. I want to be diverse. And with the podcast, you're speaking, and I want to speak to all types of people because we have both similarities and differences. In our differences, we can still find semblance and relate to each other. So culture is so important. And the reason why I do what I do is because, yes, there's been traumas that I've experienced with other cultures, but when I truly reflect, I've had traumas with my own culture. So it doesn't make sense for me to separate cultures or have that division when really at the end of the day we should all be working together to have this competition and have this competition motivated and love, right? So that we can see our businesses grow, even if we're all saying the same thing and doing the same thing. The goal is to be productive and prioritize what's important so that we can have what's next, which is customer satisfaction. Now, you're not going to be satisfied if you're not investing your money into what you need. A lot of people are out buying what they want, doing what they want, getting what they want, and then they suffer from buyer's remorse. I know this because I've done it. I know this because I've seen myself go out and say, you know what, I had every intention on liking this outfit, but I bought it. I didn't try it on. I got home and now I want to return it. Like, who doesn't do that? See something that's shiny, it looks good, and then you have that regret. Why did I buy this? Why did I do this? I don't want this. So as an entrepreneur, I want to make sure that even if my customers are only buying merchandise, when they put on the rose garden, they're going to feel confident, they're going to feel strong, they're going to feel authentic because I'm a reflection of that. And so you want to be satisfied. You don't want to leave a sour taste in people's mouth. But granted, it's going to happen. Granted, somebody is going to be triggered by what you have to say. Granted, someone is not going to like the message, but that's not your audience, and those people will naturally move around, which brings me to the last C, which is communication. And that's literally the whole premise of my business is communication, communicating with self while also being able to communicate with other people. And so communication, and not just communication, because everybody can talk, but to effectively communicate, to efficiently communicate with someone, you have to know to kind of turn off that inside thought when someone's speaking and be present in what they're saying. You have to be able to say, okay, while this person is talking, I'm going to give them my undivided attention, meaning I'm not going to think of the next thing to say as they're speaking. You have to be so intentional about being in the present. It's hard, it's challenging, it's difficult, but outlining, having an outline, having an infrastructure. Um, do you have a mission statement for your business? Have you set the parameters around what you are willing to do to have that customer satisfaction? And then how do you communicate that to the people that you want to be part of your community? So communication is so essential to any business, to any entrepreneur. And again, silence is also a form of communication. So you might be faced with something that is challenging or an adversity, and you might have a customer complaint, and you might need to be silent to figure out how you're going to overcome it. And your silence might be a matter of 10 seconds, or it might be 10 minutes, or 10 days, or maybe you're just not doing business with that person ever again. But that is all a part of effective communicating and understanding exactly who you are and understanding exactly what your business is about. Because there are so many businesses, but not that many people make it on the journey. So just with all that being said, because I don't want to take up too much time, this is really quick and to the point. I just say that if you have a business idea or a business plan, motivate yourself enough to know that it's not about perfection. It's just about showing up. It's not about how people are going to perceive you. It's all about how you are going to perceive yourself. It's all about having faith and determination, because it is a journey. It's a journey, and that journey is a long journey. If you are doing things quickly, you will burn out fast. Um, and if you are not in alignment with your purpose, then everything will fall apart. And that's not to say you can't put yourself together again, but ultimately the responsibility is yours. So, like I said, you have to be able to keep going. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is why I'm doing it in the spaces that I'm doing it, because I'm realizing that life is all about mistakes. Life is one beautiful mess that I am willing to take because I'm still in it. I'm still in the game. I'm still showing up. I've been through so much in my life to where I'm not going to at least silence myself so much so that I'm not helping somebody through my story and through my testimony. Because I do believe humanity is worth saving. I do believe in connection. I do believe in community. I do believe in the future. I do believe in our youth, especially our youth. A lot of what I do on my podcast is having this platform to help inspire those coming up, those who are younger than me. And maybe not just the younger generation or crowd. I'm realizing that there's people that's older than me that need help, that need support. And I had a strong judgment because I assume, because you're older than me, you should know better. You should be doing better. You should have the answers. Why don't you have the answers, Sway? But not everybody is going to be in a position to have the answers when they're still figuring out their own stuff. And so you have to give grace to those people who are figuring out for themselves and who are being challenged on a day-to-day basis. Because not everybody is going to be willing and open to say, I'm struggling and I'm vulnerable and I need help. And that is the curse of social media, is that most of the time we see everybody doing good. We see everything when it's lit. You see everything when it's popping. But when do you really see people's walks of faith? And when do you see the scary moments and the moments of fear? When do you see the actual times that they had to cry or that they had to get down and pray because they didn't know if they was going to make it throughout the day? Like, there's so much courage in being able to have a business, to be able to start a business, to be able to buy a trademark, to be able to sell a product. Like, there's so much power in that, to where now I see with the people that I'm meeting along this journey, of course, they're not going to be 100% available to you because they are walking in not only their purpose, but their power. So, girl, you're going to have to figure it out, because I understand that you've been through what you've been through, but walk in your purpose and walk in your power. And for me, my power and my purpose is in my voice. It's in me speaking, it's in me telling my truths, it's in me being authentic, it's me holding myself accountable when I'm not being authentic, and understanding that it's not going to work out if I'm not honest with myself. So I just say all this to say that whatever you're doing, keep inspiring yourself. If you have to switch it up, switch it up. If you have to go back to the drawing board, go to the drawing board. Yes, plans don't always go according to, but have one. Write things down. Don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you are stifling yourself. Hold yourself accountable when necessary, but don't let anyone hold you accountable for too long. Always know that you're not going to be everyone's business partner. You're not going to align with everyone. Everyone doesn't need to be on your platform. Whatever your platform is, you don't have to have everybody there. There might be people in your circle to help show you something or to shake things up, unbeknownst to you. But it's all a part of the journey. It's all a part of the lesson. So I hope that in this small conversation or talk, um, someone learns something from this, I am still learning. That's another motto of mine, is still learning. Neely Fuller Jr., he has put me on this platform, and that's something that he says, is that he's still learning, but he has so much knowledge that he's willing to give to people. He has a radio show. I'm not sure if it's still happening, but definitely check out Neely Fuller Jr. because he is a pivotal part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing on this platform. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and just always remember, when life gives you thorns, search for roses. Peace.